Okay, so I didn't pull out this guitar to show off. The reason I took out this guitar is because when I play my acoustic practice guitar that I use to practice at 3 o'clock in the morning because it doesn't make any noise, I feel kind of foolish that you hearing my whatever, it sounds muffled. Yeah, sure, the strings are old, but they're not that old. You don't use a guitar. Every time you use your guitar, you're supposed to take a cloth. This is not a guitar cloth. This is what I use to collect dust because I'm allergic to dust. So you can't put water on a guitar. So this cloth, I'm allergic to dust. Like it makes me break out and like I don't know. It looks like mosquito bites, but it's not. I'm allergic to dust. And so you see me scratching a lot. It's because dust, and I have to wipe everything down or whatever gets dusty in New York City. Everything gets dusty in 1 or 2 days. Everything. My toolbox gets dust on it. Everything gets dust on it. So what you do is you get a clean cloth. I forgot what these are called, but you buy them at the auto store. And you put a little bit of alcohol on a dry cloth, no water, and you can wipe the strings just once, and then otherwise your strings get dull. So if you have dirt in your strings are gonna sound like my other guitar. But my other guitar, I don't know if it has dirt in it or not because the strings are not that old. So I did try to wipe it down. Actually, I sprayed it with this finger ease works, and then you don't really have to wipe that off, but you're supposed to wipe down your guitars. And if you have dry hands when you play and you're not sweating, you don't have to all the time, only for dust. But if you have wet hands, you have to. I don't usually sweat when I play, maybe in the summertime, but I'm like one of those guys from Siberia. I I tend to not get as affected by the cold as much as everyone else, except for certain people can handle it. And I used to live with someone from Siberia, and for some strange reason, we both had the same habits. We leave the fan on, blowing cold air into the room while we sleep all day long, because otherwise we freak out. That's what people from Siberia do. They like the cold, or they're used to it. And other people complain, "Why is your apartment so cold?" And then we say, "What are you talking about?" Because you know, some people, you can look on YouTube, like to go in icy water. Maybe it's a cheap thrill, or maybe it's just something that's in their genes. And I happen to be one of those people. So, anyway, for this lesson, I want to remind you that, um, again, I don't like playing note for note unless I'm trying to learn like a riff. And I just happened to notice with the guitar distortion on the amp has a built-in sound effect box. It's a Fender amp, and it has different sound effects in it. And one of the things I wanted to tell you is try not to keep changing your sound effects unless you're used to knowing that, okay, now I'm playing in flanger mode, and now I'm playing in distortion mode, and now I'm playing in chorus mode. And then you can do that when you're in a band, because when you're in a band, you need to be able to adapt faster. But I haven't used my amp for at least a year for some reason, because I switched to bass guitar. Now I'm playing electric guitar as a way to show some people how to play. And when I took art lessons in college, they distinctly taught us to just let yourself unravel in art class. And they didn't tell you what to paint. Like, they told you to paint these things that they put up front, but they didn't tell you, like, you know, well, you don't know because you wasn't there. They didn't tell you how to paint it. They didn't tell you, like, draw this apple first in a circle and then shade this part in and draw the stem. They kind of explained how you need to get shadows, and they showed you the light part of the apple and the dark part and the table, and they showed you examples of other people's work. So in music, I was always an artist, but I always reverted to music more so than painting, even though I used to paint denim jackets in the 80s a little bit. I was in art class in high school and advanced art class in high school. But so anyway, for music, it's fine if you can handle it, playing note for note, sheet note, tablature, but you need to know ahead of time. If you're reading things off of a book or a tablature, they're really not going to put the exact thing that's being played on Led Zeppelin or something in the book. They're going to throw it in a different key, or they're going to give you nonsense because they really don't want you to know. And the people who do play it correctly figured it out on their own. And even they're only going to give you like a few notes because, you know, it's in Led Zeppelin, yeah, there are certain things that is given by people who have watched them play and are able to definitely figure out note for note. But I tend to play in scales, so I happen to notice that this sounds like U2 a lot, but I'm just playing with the sound effect in Dorian mode. Also, I wanted to tell you, when you play guitar, watch how you focus. Like, if you watch a boxer in the ring, how he focuses is how he wins a fight. He doesn't want the opponent to know where he's going to hit, or if your eyes are in the wrong place, you won't see a punch coming. And even if you're trying really hard to see a punch coming, you'll see a lot of people lose or get hit because they didn't see it. And I myself have gotten sucker punched in street fights because I didn't think I was in a street fight, because I was in the store a couple of times and the security guard. And it's hard to tell yourself to punch a security guard because, you know, you figure you're going to get arrested. But so you get sucker punched. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, when you play your guitar, you also have to know where to focus. People who look at their hands because you don't know where the scale is, that's normal for you not to know if you're a beginner. But the scales are inside, the picture imagery of the boxes are inside my head. So being able to play in the dark with minimal setting or whatever is part of being a guitarist. But also the part where you leave the box into the next space, and then there's also how you play is to remember the thicker notes or the bass notes, and as you go up, those are your lead notes. So if you're the only guitarist playing at that particular time, if you're in a band, and then you have to remember that you're not just playing high notes, and then you also might be playing off of your own low notes. In other words, the A string, can be used as a chord. I know a lot of times I say a chord. What I mean is the A string deeper. Sometimes you're using it as a chord. Is what I know. My last video I made a mistake. So anyway, what I'm saying is watch your focus. Like if I look into the camera when I play, I'm gonna get lost in looking at something. I don't know what I'll be looking at, and my mind will be taken away into how this sounds. My mind will slip. If I look at the camera, I won't be paying attention to this. And if I look at this, I won't be paying attention to the sound. And if I'm trying to be cool, look at me, I'm playing this note and that note, this note and that note. I won't be paying attention to the choreography of what I'm playing, or the sound, or the point of impact, or the poetic meter of the whole thing will unravel. So what I'm saying is it's probably okay for you to make a mistake and find yourself. Okay, so I'm going to be playing on the D Dorian, so that's here. See, that's the D note, D string. And this is the next box up. That's where I'll be making all mistakes, because it makes a different expression. Because the notes are different. And as you go up, you're not playing as high on the G string, so then it sounds different, and then it sounds more paralyzed maybe, or it changes. And you also have to remember when you're playing in the D Dorian, you don't have to do anything. In psychology they teach you that you don't have to do anything, and but you can, if you want, to remember that the D Dorian is intertwined with the A pentatonic. You might notice on that I'm only playing one note, the A. I'm holding down the whole bar chord. I also played the E note off of it. And I also want to remind you that I was talking about YouTube, and I'm not playing YouTube. I like YouTube, not YouTube, YouTube, band YouTube. I like YouTube, but I also like YouTube, but I didn't buy a lot of their albums. I had a few of them, but this is not a YouTube song. It just happens to sound like it. YouTube didn't want to imitate anyone. Let me turn up the sound of them. I don't think the sound went up because my wires are screwed up. Okay, so I'm trying not to move the song along too fast. So let me do some repetitive stuff. So now I'm hitting two notes at a time, and I'm starting off in the box above the first box, the second box lower with the D Dorian mode. have to let the guitar hang down. I was holding it off the strap. I don't know, I can't get the volume to go up. The strap must be stuck or something. If your wires are bad. Just went up a second. Sometimes if you can't get the volume to go up, it's hard to play. Because you hear everything outside. Something's making me in. Okay, that was like going from the first box and the lower one. Now this is the one I'll get stuck on. Now I'm not playing U2, I'm just playing and then I'm trying to look at my scale for a second to see, to make sure I'm not making a mistake. Now what was I checking? I was checking because in the other video I slipped into a pentatonic. I was checking the scale to make sure I'm not going to slip into a pentatonic. This is a D Dorian. It sounds like YouTube. That's good. I don't know if you guys get my point, but my point is that if you play in scale, you're playing a scale. Again, I play lead guitar. So I'm talking about myself or any other lead guitarist. As long as it's there's the footsteps upstairs, and all of a sudden he rushed across the room, and when I was going to swallow, I didn't swallow my spit, and I couldn't talk because the guy upstairs likes to stomp. So what I was trying to say is, any guitarist who is a lead guitarist, Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, he knows that if he's playing in scale, not that Jimmy Page would make a mistake, that he can catch up to where the song is, because, just play and just catch up to the part, whatever you want, because you know what key the song is. If you wrote the song and most of their songs are written down note for note, but anyway, to be honest with you, those are riffs, and riffs can be repeated over and over and over again, and whatever a riff travels over, and then you come back to it, and I feel that's the way songs are written, by the repetitiveness of the riff. But anyway, so as I was saying, told you I'd have trouble with that box. The only way I figured out how to get out of the trouble was to use the lower notes as a bass note. But I think I did it backwards into the bass note. Okay, so I don't know if there's dust in here. This is the bass note. I don't know. For me, that sounds a lot like YouTube. Okay, so what I'm reaching for now is to let you know that the D Dorian is, I told you a few minutes ago, it's intertwined with the A pentatonic. But you have to have a reason to go there, to be more heavier. That's the A pentatonic. But I'm not playing it like a regular pentatonic because, you know, I'm imitating my mindset of what U2 is. See, I went up to a different box that's correct, but I didn't figure out what. It's not a mistake, it's just trying to figure out what to play. It's in the right notes, it just doesn't sound right. And remember, a pentatonic is 5 notes, and it's on a different fret than the Dorian, so. See, it's just not what I want. So if you switch into the pentatonic, try not to make the mistake that sounds bad as to start playing a major scale when you should be playing pentatonic at that point, because that's gonna throw the song into a different key if you do that. If you play like a major on the A and, you know, and playing a G major, not an A pentatonic. But you can play an A pentatonic lead over the D Dorian, which is what I'll try to do now. And remember, the only thing I'm thinking of is when in the back of my mind, I'm thinking how YouTube sounds. But I'm not trying to think of it. But when I'm playing, the amplifier sounds like it. Okay, this note here, that's not in the pent. And when I throw that in, I don't know how to move it out. I'm just playing, we tried to do it without using that note. keep using it. I'll try to do it with more bends. So when you're practicing the lead, try to be correct in terms of the scale. And when you make a mistake, try to correct yourself and stop trying to sound cool. Just try to be honest, you know? See, I keep hitting that and it's in the wrong key. Oh, the reason I'm hitting it is because I'm playing. All of a sudden I start playing in the Dorian mode on the wrong fret. So I'm trying not to do that. I have to remind myself what I'm doing. I said I was going to play a lead and I started playing the rhythm. That's what I'm doing wrong. I was playing in the wrong key. I'll tell you what the distraction was. My fans are blowing air into the room, and all of a sudden somebody was cooking and it smelled like eggs and my mind got lost and my hand slipped up from the A pent into the A flat, and then, you know, how do you correct that? I don't know. So now I'm doing the rhythm again. And then I'll show you the D Dorian. So I hope you understand. And I'm keeping this at 30 minutes or less because when I used to take lessons, it was 30 minutes or less. I kept in all the mistakes. I didn't press pause. To show you that that's like a practice session that you would do to make up your own song. But, you know, I don't have any song written out in front of me, so